Ladies and most gentlemen, today we're going to talk about the battle for Dazar'alor Raid, and more specifically, what's going on with the race changes and race swaps which are happening during this raid. So this raid comes out on January 22nd in the US, 23rd in the EU, and then 24th in other regions, and it will have 9 bosses, split into 3 chapters. But Chapters 2 and 3 will have some race swaps for the Horde and the Alliance, and what I mean by that is that all of the bosses in Chapter 2 will involve Horde players becoming Alliance players, and Chapter 3, with the 3 bosses, will involve some Alliance players transforming into Horde, and that includes all of your racials and your gear. So if you're wearing Alliance-specific gear or Horde-specific gear, that will be swapped as well, or at least the appearance of it will. So in this video, I'm going to be going through each race and telling you which races you'll be transforming into. Now I thought it would just be a straight swap, so like all Draenei players become like Orcs, but no, there is very specific swaps with specific classes. So yeah, let's just jump into it, but I'm not going to include any like random racials like increased jewel crafting. You might gain that, but what is that going to matter in the raid? So I'm just going to do combat specific racials. So let's start off by talking about Chapter 2 and what races the Horde players will be turning into. So if you are a Tauren, not a Druid, and a Troll Shaman, you'll be transforming into a Draenei. And when becoming a Draenei, you gain 3 racials. That is Gift of the Naru, which heals the target for 20% of the caster's total health over 5 seconds, Heroic Presence, which increases your strength, agility, and intellect, which scales with your level, and Shadow Resistance, which reduces your shadow damage taken by 1%. So yeah, I guess the silver lining of that is that the racials aren't too bad and you don't actually lose any height, so you're pretty much playing the same race. So next up, any Goblin Hunters or Shamans and all of the Orcs will be transforming into Dwarves. And when becoming a Dwarf, you gain the racials Frost Resistance, which reduces your frost damage taken by 1%. You also gain Stone Form, which removes all poisons, diseases, curses, magic, and bleed effects, and reduces all physical damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds, so that is a great racial. And Might of the Mountain, which increases your critical strike damage and healing by 2%. Not a bad bunch of racials really. I kind of expected the Orcs to turn into humans, but I guess they're just going with this, so yeah, there you go. All Orcs are going to be Dwarves. And next up, for the rest of the goblins, not hunters or shamans, you'll be becoming a gnome. Lucky you. So when becoming a gnome, you will gain Arcane Resistance, which reduces your arcane damage taken by 1%, Escape Artist, which escapes the effect of any immobilization or movement speed reducing effects, Expansive Mind, which increases your mana by 5%, and Nimble Fingers, which increases your haste by 1%. So yeah, it's pretty much a straight swap. If you have gear on, you probably won't even notice that you're any different, and yeah, it's basically the same size, you know, that's how it works. Next up, if you are a Blood Elf, not a Demon Hunter, a Troll Warlock, and all of the Undead, you'll be turning into a human. And with becoming a human, you will gain Every Man for Their Self, which removes all stun effects, and shares a 90-second cooldown with other similar effects, and you'll also gain the Human Spirit, which gains 2% of all of your secondary stats, haste, critical strike, mastery, and versatility from all sources. I don't know about the reputation one, you might gain it, I don't know, there's no new reputations with this raid, so it doesn't really make any difference. So yeah, there are 2 racials for you there, not too bad. Yeah, undeads become human again. Next up, if you are a Blood Elf, Demon Hunter, a Tauren Druid, or Trolls, but not a Shaman or Warlock, you'll be becoming a Night Elf. Yeah, so with a Night Elf, you'll gain Elusiveness, increases your speed while in stealth by 5%, Nature Resistance, which reduces your nature damage taken by 1%, Quickness, which increases your chance to dodge, melee, and range attacks by 2% and your movement speed by 2%. Shadow Meld, which is basically a small stealth. Touch of a Loon, which increases your haste by 1% during the night and increases your critical strike during the day. And Wisp. I'm not sure about Wisp. Yeah, you might gain Wisp, so when you die, you get to run back as a Wisp. Lucky you. But yeah, there are a ton of racials there, so yeah, great job for some Blood Elves, Tauren, and Trolls there. Definitely a good hand to play with becoming a Night Elf. As for Pandaren, you are staying exactly the same, and unfortunately none of the Horde races will be transforming into a Worgen, so yeah, no one gets to play Worgen. Sad times. Okay, so that is it for the Horde turning into Alliance. So now let's talk about the Alliance turning into Horde. And starting off with Gnome Monks, Human Paladins, and Night Elf Demon Hunters. All of you will be turning into Blood Elves. And when becoming a Blood Elf, you gain Arcane Torrent, which removes 1 beneficial effect from all enemies within 8 yards, and you restores 3% of your resources, so mana, chi, whatever. Arcane Resistance, which reduces your arcane damage taken by 1%. Arcane Acuity, which increases your critical strike chance by 1%. Only 3 class race combinations going to be a Blood Elf, so you probably won't see many Blood Elves in this raid. So next up, all the rest of the gnomes, but not monks, will be becoming goblins. Yeah, so as a goblin, you will gain Rocket Jump, which activates your rocket belt to jump forward. It's really cool, actually. Rocket Barrage, which launches your belt of rockets at an enemy. Time is Money, which is a 1% haste increase. And Pack Hobgoblin, now I'm not 100% on this, but you might get it, which basically gives you bank access for 1 minute when you spawn it in. Pretty interesting. You're not going to lose any height. It's really not going to be that much of a difference, really, for gnomes, which is unfortunate because I main a gnome, and I'm not really too into goblins, honestly. So next up for Draenei mages and all dwarves apart from paladins and priests, you will be becoming a orc. And when you transform into an orc, you will gain Blood Fury, which increases your attack power and intellect by 400 for 15 seconds. Command, which is damage dealt by pets increased by 1%, so that's good for dwarf hunters. And Hardiness, which reduces stun effects by additional 20%. So yeah, that's it for most of the dwarves and the Draenei mages out there. For Pandaren, again, you're going to stay exactly the same. Sorry to break it to you, you suck. So for the rest of the Draenei and the Dwarf Paladins, you'll be becoming a Tauren. Becoming a Tauren will give you Brawn, which increases your critical strike damage and healing by 2%. Endurance, which increases your stamina and scales with your level. Nature Resistance, which reduces nature damage taken by 1%. And War Stomp, which stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds, which is a really OP ratio and definitely worth having. So for the rest of the Draenei and that one Dwarf Paladin, and obviously with the Dwarf Paladin, I assume you're going to get the other mount as well, which is going to be kind of cool. Next up, for all of the Night Elves, apart from Demon Hunters and Worgen, you will be becoming a regular troll, not the Zandalari one, just a regular troll. And with that, we'll gain Berserking, which increases your haste by 10% for 12 seconds. Voodoo Shuffle, which reduces the duration of all movement impairing effects by 20%, and Regeneration, which increases your health regeneration rate by 10%, and 10% of your total health regeneration may continue through combat. I don't really know what that means, but yeah, there you go. Worgens, you're all going to be trolls. Enjoy life without irritating noises for like 3 bosses. And finally, dwarf priests and all other humans, apart from paladins, you'll be turning into an undead. And with undeads, you will gain Cannibalized, which when activated regenerates 7% of your total health and mana every 2 seconds for 10 seconds, but it only works on humanoids and undead corpses within 5 yards. You also gain Will of the Forsaken, which reduces any charm, fear, and sleep effects. This also shares a cooldown with some other similar effects of 30 seconds. Touch of the Grave, which has a chance for your attacks and spells to drain the target, dealing shadow damage and healing you for the same amount. And it also gives you Underwater Breathing, which will be useful for nothing. And Shadow Resistance, which reduces your shadow resistance taken by 10%. So yeah, humans enjoy not having skin. And there you go. That is the list, guys. That is the list of the races that World of Warcraft have put up on their website. But wait, there are other races. What about the allied races, you ask? Well, they're not on the list. They are genuinely not on this post, and there is no information anywhere. But honestly, I think it's probably going to follow the same swaps as Mercenary mode for PvP, because this is what this follows. Although I don't want to go too much into it, because it might not be correct, so we'll have to wait and see with them. Although Nightborn and Void Elves do actually have the same class race combination, so I would imagine that's probably going to be an easy swap to do. But as I said, I don't want to go too much into those, because I might be spilling out wrong information. So yeah, at the moment we have no information on that. But why? But why did they forget? Who knows? So yeah, let me know what you think of this mechanic of the raid. It's definitely interesting, it's definitely something we've never seen before, and if you're actually happy with the race you're going to be playing for 3 bosses. And if I missed any, I don't think I did, but if I did, do let me know, and I'm sure everyone's going to let me know. So before I go, I'd like to give a massive shout out to my amazing patrons, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subs. You guys are awesome. And if you want to support the channel in any of those ways, links are down below. So leave a like on this video, guys, if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't. I've also got a partner Discord channel with over 3,000 members and a merch store over on Streamlabs. And I'm also now streaming on twitch.tv/MrGM if you want to check me out on stream. We'll be doing a lot of the raid testing. Some of the background footage for this video was the raid testing that we were doing, and it was a lot of fun. The raid is going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it. Probably only going to do Raid Finder, but I'll do it. I'll give it a go. So yeah, twitch.tv/MrGM if you want to check me out on stream. And with that, guys, I'll see you next time.